Well, I'm moving on to the village store, and I've got a little bit of masking already done. And right here, I'm kind of working on underneath one of the eaves and putting in kind of a shaded area. And this was kind of fun because I had a little larger areas to work in and got to feel like I was actually painting freely without all the restrictions of fine details and tech. However, it did get pretty tight toward the end, and doing some signs and details around windows and trim, and trying to figure out all the stairs and railings and stuff. But overall, it was enjoyable. Um, I ended up making a lot of changes. I ended up changing the color of the roof in more than one area. I misinterpreted the roof material too, because I thought in a couple places it was like a tile, and it was actually a metal roofing, and it was a little different color. And then I come to find out, I didn't have enough resource photos, even though I took a bunch. And I ended up using Google Images and did some searching, and other sites had some decent photos. But what I found really handy was I went to the Google Maps and did a street view, and I was able to get right down in front of the store and check it out from different angles, and so that explained a lot. So I was kind of lucky in that regard. Um, you know, if people weren't so familiar with it, it really wouldn't matter. But I mean, the people that own it and the people that go in there all the time, and the visitors, they have a clear memory of what the facade looked like, and I want to get it pretty close to the way it should be. So a lot of that in this video. I'm working with you know like a number two brush, a liner brush primarily. There's a couple times when I get to get out the quarter-inch flat and do some stuff, but yeah, it's kind of it's fairly slow going. But as I mentioned, I'm actually able to free up a little bit in places and put some color down some larger areas. Um, so I did enjoy it. Um, there's a lot of this tree overhanging the roof, and it's going to come down in places and cover up some of the storefront also. Um, but that'll be later. But I have put some masking in just to retain a little bit of white on limbs that will be reflecting some light. And I want to keep the color strong, so protected some of that. And I'm planning on, in this one, kind of working from where I am here down to the lower left corner and then moving across. I've got more to do on the road that comes up from the ramp, and there's a little bit of a park like setting in the foreground, and an old railing built out of some fairly heavy timbers that are going to be in the front, and then there's some grass and some vegetation that I'll put in, but that'll be pretty much at the end of everything. So I'm going to be speeding it up as I typically do, and playing some music, and I've, without any changes to the video that I've loaded here, as I'm putting it together and doing my editing, it's well over 2 hours, so I do need to find a way to accelerate, and that's pretty much my go-to. I think you can see just as well what's happening at a faster speed because I'm having to wait for, paper to dry, and there'll be times when I'll pull out the hair dryer and try to speed that process up, or have to go kind of slowly to get the right moisture level on the paper, and it's not something you can really rush. So that's part of the reason it takes so long. And then it's also me trying to figure out what the heck I'm painting in areas where I'm not really familiar. And I've talked about that before. It's pretty hard to do when you're not very clear about the subject. And you haven't studied it well enough. It makes it difficult to paint it. But at any rate, I will be checking in a little bit later in this one, and if I do something out of the ordinary, I probably want to talk about it, but that'll be coming up. So thanks for hanging in there, and I'll see you in a little bit.
What keys are in, Robbie? F demented.
Pulled into Nazareth, I was feeling about 8:30. Just need some place where I can lay my head. Hey, mister, can you tell me where a man might find a bed? He just grinned and shook my hand. No, was all he said. Take a load off Fanny. Take a load for free. Take a load off Fanny. Put the load right on me.
I picked up my bag, went looking for a place to hide. When I saw old Common and the devil walking side by side, say, hey, come on, let's go downtown. She said, I gotta go, but my friend can stick around. Take a load off Fanny. Take a load for free. Take a load off Fanny.
Put the load right on me.
Go down, Miss Moses. There ain't nothing you can say. It's just so Luke, and Luke's waiting on Judgment Day. Well, Luke, my friend, what about young Annalie? Said, do me a favor, son, won't you stay and keep Annalie company? Take a load off Fanny. Take a load for free. Take a load off Fanny.
Put the load right on me.
Crazy Chester followed me, and he caught me in the fog. He said, I will fix your act if you'll take Jack, my dog. I said, wait a minute, Chester, no, I'm a peaceful man. He said, that's okay, boy. Won't you feed 'em when you can? Take a load off Eddie. Take a load for free. Take a load off Eddie. Hey, put the load right on me.
Catch a cannonball now to take me down the line. My bag is sinking low, and I do believe it's time.
Ooh, to get back to Miss Fanny, you know she's the only one who sent me here with her regard for everyone. Yeah.
Take a load off Eddie. Take a load for free. Take a load off Eddie. Right on me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, now I'm doing the front of this store, and it's not, the color is actually well, it's difficult to describe it. It has it's kind of a gray green, very very pale, and since it's in direct light, there won't be much pigment added. It's just going to be a little bit of a tint to the paper. I don't want it to be very strong because the color will be a little more evident when I move around to the shaded side of the building. So I'm just touching this in. I've already wet the paper where I want the color to go, and some of these details are protected with masking fluid, and I'm working around a couple of little flower pots that I've yet to put the hardware on the building to support them. And then there's trim around the windows that has to come later, and there's some changes I'm going to be making to the side of the building here with the windows just touched in there. You can see the shapes of them. I'm not sure that shape is actually correct. I think they're a tiny bit narrower, but I think I'll get by with that because there's going to be a bunch of limbs and stuff hanging down over it, but it's close. I've also got some changes to make on down in the front where the sign is. There's actually on the right-hand side of this building, down in the front where it goes down to the ramp, there is a sign that's actually a fish, and then within it it's a salmon, and within it it says groceries. But from this angle, it's not really legible. So I'm trying to get that across, and still, have it look, when you study it, you interpret it as a fish, as a salmon. But I'm not interested in spelling out groceries or anything else. I mean, there's a espresso sign, there's an open sign, there's I don't know if there's another one, but those are just going to be suggested. I don't typically spell things out on signs. So getting the paper dried out here, and then I'll be moving into the shadow areas on the left side of the building. The light in this is coming from the right, and the shadows are being cast, although they're not long shadows, but the shadows are being cast toward the left side of the paper. So some of the masking has to be removed. before I can proceed. And sometimes I use my finger, other times I use a rubber cement pickup, which works very well. It's just a glob of rubber cement that's pretty much hardened, and it works as an eraser, and it also works really well for picking up this masking material, which kind of acts like rubber cement in a lot of ways. So either method works. Sometimes the finger's good because you can feel spots that you can't even see. You can detect a little better with your fingertips than you can with something like a rubber cement glob. I never went into this store. I don't know that it was open. I was just hanging out on this little perch up above and watching the ferry come in. But it's pretty cool. I've looked at their website, and I'm certainly going in there next time I get up that way. In the distance, all the pilings and stuff for the landing are pretty well finished. I'm probably going to go a little bit darker into the water beneath the pilings, beneath the supports for all that structure. And I've got to change some of the things that I did on the roof that aren't actually correct from looking at details from Google Street. So I'll be doing that. And got a little fence to do, railings they are going down some stairs. And I do get out some opaque white watercolor, which I try not to do too often, but I use masking to save the white in most of these areas, but there's a few places where I didn't do it. And so I'm cheating a little bit with some white. And I try not to use a lot of it. Sometimes it kind of builds up on the surface and it doesn't look like watercolor. So I don't like to use it that much. You can do the same thing if you're really careful. You can take a tip of an X-Acto knife and just scrape the paper very, very lightly, and you'll get down to the white again. But sometimes that can fray it and creates a little trough, and anytime you kind of dig a little impression into the paper or rough it up in any way, if you do put paint on that area, if you do float in some water and add some pigment, it settles in there and becomes darker than you would expect. So you have to be careful with that. But this paper is pretty heavy stuff, and it'll handle a lot of abuse. I have up to this point I have done some wash areas up in the water and on the roof of the building and so forth, and the paper was really wet, and it does not buckle at all. It doesn't swell up and give you that headache where you've got moguls to work around. So it's really good in that regard. And I just use frog tape. As you can see, the green tape that I have seems to stay anchored really well. So, and it's not a pain to remove either, so it's really good stuff. So now I'm just slowly going at it and trying to add some details to these buildings, and I'm going to have to do some stuff to indicate sighting, and then there's more railings, and then just delineate some of the objects. Here's one of my techniques when I make a goof. Just get it wet, get a tissue, and use the back of your fingernail or something and just rub it out. Uh-oh, more white. Well, I am going to go back to the music and speed things up once again, and I may be coming back when the scene changes.
Mare kudifayo ya he ya
Conquer Square Nation. Hey baby, who not know? I go one day. I'm a wild chopper to look everywhere I go. Shocking morphine. When I paint my face in that Indian red, I go one day. I don't bore nobody with the feather in his head. Shocking morphine. Singing about hey now.